Here's one of them. One of them. I don't know where the other one is.
I'm sure.
So we're going to have.
Yeah, that's part of the history.
Can you guys hold on for a second? Hey. We're going to have a working meeting. Or lunch. After you get your lunch, so run to the bathroom now if you're going to, and then come through the line, and then sit down, and we're going to hold our business meeting during lunch. So I hope that works for everybody. I'm going to ask you to go on that side so I can put burgers on your buns, and then when you get back over here, you can put your mustard and ketchup on, if that works.
Do you want me to touch buttons? It's going around somewhere. It started off at some point over there. It might have halted.
Didn't sign the roster.
I know it hasn't made its way over to me yet, so it's somewhere over there. Oh, okay. So we can start passing it out. Otherwise, I can kind of get some of the information of who is here from like our sign-in sheets. I think what we'll do, since we usually kind of wait on, how museums are doing this year, we wait for that towards the end. And since we already pretty much introduced ourselves at the beginning when we were all here with Janet, we will do that at the end. As we work on the agenda, as it is right now, I will take a motion to approve the agenda, unless anybody has anything they need to.
I shall move.
And that's Pat?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Who's that? Dave, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I sent you guys the minutes from December. Did anybody get those?
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, so this is what I do every time with my board meetings too. I always forget to attach the minutes. So, what we can do is we can move this until our June meeting and just say we'll add the minutes from the December 10th, 2024 meeting to be approved and the minutes from this meeting to be approved at our next. I thought I did, but I might have sent them out such a long time ago that who knows the last time anybody had a chance to review
I
them.
have a copy, and I had a question about.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where.
Yeah. We'll put this on the agenda for our next meeting as to review and approve last meeting and this meeting's minutes. Committee reports. Russ, there you are. For the America 250 book progress.
Okay, we had asked you all to send us information about summarize it again. We had thought about, probably 2 years ago, about doing a book that covered the area for 250 years of America's birthday. And it evolved over the time as we tried to figure out what to do. At the last view was, it would be a series of about 12 different topics that I had sent out, including Native American and that, logging and all those things. And then each museum would tell us, if you're interested in railroads, for instance, what's at your museum for a railroad buff. And so we said deadline was January for to send it in, and I've got, I think, 5 of the probably 20 possible museums participating. So we're not moving at all very good on this. So I think we probably are not going to have, this is probably not going to happen. And so I'm going to make a different suggestion, is instead of doing a book, we make a centralized, we already have a website for this consortium group, and we put in there links to your museum pages. So if we say, and if you have a website on your own museum, which I think most of you might have, if you have a page on your museum that says this is logging stuff or this is railroad stuff, we could just link to it and connect up that way. So it still would be a directory. However, that means that do you actually have websites, and do you have information as to what kind of exhibits you have? If you have something on logging, do you have a page that says this is what you have? See, if you want people to come to your museum, you got to tell them what's there, but tantalize them, not actually show everything you've got. And Brenna sent me some of the stuff like that for the county museum, Polk County Museum, so that you could do that. So anyway, so I think the book is not going to happen, all right? Because we don't have participation. But we maybe could try this as a thing. And so I'll probably start by going on and looking for each of your websites, if you have one, and then see what's on there. And then maybe we could suggest, if you don't have a page on one of our topics, like if you don't have a page on something about logging in your museum, you throw a few pictures together and you put some information on that. And if you're having trouble with website stuff, if you don't have one, or if you have, it's too expensive to do, you can do all this stuff for free through, well anyway. So what do you think? Should we give up on the book? I'm thinking we have to. I feel bad because some of you participated, and we aren't going to do anything with it. But it's always easier to not do something, isn't it? Okay.
Do you want a motion to not do the book?
Yeah, I think probably we could say that due to disinterest, we won't get a book done.
Participation, because some of us are very interested, we just.
Don't have the time.
No, probably to
Yeah, well, see, it's not important, that's the idea, right?
No, there's just other things that are really important right then.
Yeah.
All right, so I suppose in that case, we can take a motion to abandon the book idea due to lack of participation. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I second. And who's that?
Rochelle? Okay.
Michelle?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
So I'm a vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? But, kind of. Motion carried. The joint event idea. So current ideas, group tours, bus tours, sponsors or partnerships, and a GEM grant was also brought up. So, really briefly, I will just say, because Russ and I were talking about this, so in Polk County, right, so in Polk County, there's the, the county fair, right, happens every year. At Polk County, there is the Little Red Schoolhouse, and so typically that was managed by Russ and his wife. Almost 20th anniversary, right, of doing this every single year. And so Russ and I are chatting about getting, so notice for all the Polk County museums in here, you will be contacted to get together with the rest of us. So the discussion is, okay, well, Polk County folks need to figure out how else we're gonna take this on. However, then we started discussing, the idea of how, it always comes back to the idea, right? So this is a Northern Wisconsin Museum Consortium, right? Northwestern Wisconsin Museum Consortium. So that includes museums from a large chunk of northwestern Wisconsin. So the question always arises, right? How are you going to partner with, museums all the way up in Grantsburg if you're down in Amory, or even just Balsam Lake to here? How are you going to do some of these, right, and yeah, and how are you going to partner with some of these museums, especially if it's for something like a group tour or a bus tour, and how are you going to be able to find a way to hit every single museum that's participating, or even just trying to coordinate like days and times and weekends and events that, right, for Pioneer Village, Tammy has something going on, I think literally every weekend, basically, just about. I mean, if it's not, it's pretty close. And so I'm not trying to say we shouldn't try to do these things, but I have a feeling that it always kind of feels like we're spinning our wheels with a lot of this, and that we keep talking about it, but it doesn't get farther than us just talking about it. And so I don't know if there's a better way to do it aside from just cross-promoting on social media and sharing newspaper sources or contact sources and things like that. Because yeah, the thought of trying to figure out how I can get a bus full of people with, limited funding over here for an event, and then maybe up for the River Road Ramble, even because that's in September, is pretty daunting. So I don't know how other folks feel about it, but this might be something where there could be something in terms of smaller committees and smaller communities doing something that's a partnership, but maybe not necessarily something that involves every person in northwestern Wisconsin, or every historical society in northwestern Wisconsin.
You know, you mentioned the River Road Ramble. That's, I mean, we managed to get St. Croix Falls, Cushing, Sterling Eureka, and Grantsburg Historical Societies all to be open and do something on that day.
Yeah.
Highway 35 and Highway 8 are possibilities. For Highway 35, we could probably try to get Osceola involved too. These small nearby things, if you can do something together, that's probably easier. And it's beneficial because if you're having some event and you include a couple more places, it really just adds to the event. So,
Well, the other thing too is Russ developed a web page for this consortium, and maybe just more use of that to share what's happening at different museums and historical societies.
Well,
might be an easier way of.
no, and I like that. You know, we could do something kind of similar to kind of what Janet was talking about with the Wisconsin Historical Society. So not to keep making, you know, additional hoops for everybody to jump through, but I don't remember when she said that form was going to be available for like to post your events, but if there's something smaller scale that we can do that's actually like much more local.
That was only for America 250, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
So if we could do something that's a little more consistent in terms of, you know, yeah, basically just your events that are coming up and sharing them to the website. Do you want to, it's up to you, but. So you're not the only one
any
that's
of you who want to
Well, that's
can
maybe
be
you're not-
editors of the
yeah.
website and the Facebook page and the YouTube channel we have. Anybody who wants to, I already sent out account and password, so I can do it again, but,
Yeah,
so
do you wanna send it to me?
anyone who has those can add, manage, whatever.
Hey Russ, do you want to send that to me? And then maybe I can.
If you remind me, I'll do
I
that.
will remind you.
What is the address? I mean, can you send?
Actually, it's a complicated one because I'm using a free sites.google.com/something. That's the front of it, because otherwise you got to pay $20 a year to have a better name for it. And I'm really cheap, so.
And so that's the thing. I think in the past, you know, when I first started and somebody said, oh yeah, you're going to be going to the, you know, Northern Wisconsin Museum Consortium, and I was like, oh okay. And then I Googled the website and I was like, oh, this exists. But then that was it, right? Like, not gonna lie, I've not visited it much in the past 2 years. So I think something that would probably be helpful is to create kind of, yeah, a much stronger connection with the website and our actual museums, especially.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to think of something smaller, you know, like Russ was saying, like in Russ County, we could probably easily throw together on a similar day Warehouser, which has got an up and coming, really nice little museum going there now.
Yeah.
Bruce and Ladysmith, the Russ County Historical Society, they've got a really nice facility coming up, and I mean, it's doing really well in the Ladysmith Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, maybe this is getting ahead of the game, but I just brought one of their flyers along, and I talked to one of their head guys last night, and I encouraged them to start to bring somebody or send somebody to these consortium meetings. But he's got, so join us for Russ County Historical Society Speaker Series. They've got somebody coming up May 4th. They're going to talk about mineral rights, mineral interests in Russ County. They got a person to talk there, you know, because, oh yeah, I own my land. Well, do you own the mineral rights under it? And that's a question. Ezra Cornell owned thousands and thousands of acres in what's Russ County and surrounding counties, Triple County. And there's some question about who owns the mineral rights to those thousands and thousands of acres. So there's a speaker coming to do that. And they've had several you know, we had one on logging recently and
Yeah.
one on gates coming before this, so that's kind of a neat idea too.
So, yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of the thing, is just to talk about basically more in terms of like cross promotion, and yeah, especially if there's a way for a group of museums, right, like, you know, Cushing, Luck, and, you know, again, like Russ talked about reviving the Milltown Museum, which, you know, I didn't know it was still in existence, but things like that, and kind of figuring out ways for everybody to sort of cross promote and not, if people are willing to do a much larger, like, event, sure, but it feels like that, you know, everybody kind of is in their own world of their own museum or in their own kind of community, and that's completely understandable, so.
Hard enough to get people to do stuff for your
Yeah,
museum.
Right, and so I think that's something is just to keep in mind, is that it's absolutely fine, but if we can find a better way to share what other museums are doing, you
I
know,
like
through,
Russ's idea
this
of
website.
all of us sharing our websites
yeah,
to that one site.
Yeah.
Because I know on our website, we have upcoming events
Mhm, yeah.
listed. So,
yeah,
that'd be the
The
easy
problem,
way.
that would be good, but the problem would be unless we have an actual calendar there, if we could, if
can
there was a
insert
calendar and we
calendar.
could put our
Right,
events on
right.
it, because otherwise people would have to follow the
Each.
link. They could go to that and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, so who has something, and check 26 different museums to see
Yeah,
what
the
they
calendar's
had.
a good idea.
I think you can insert a calendar into a website like that.
Person can do anything if you actually know how to do it, that's the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
Well, I would say last fall, I think we had a tour group that came, and Tammy would know who that was, I think. But they had done an overnight somewhere, so they had done some,
3 nights.
yeah.
okay, yeah,
But
yeah,
they were from maybe Green Bay or that area.
Yeah, over by
Yeah.
there.
But, I mean, if Tammy remembers at least what historical society group that was, you could probably call them and find out how hard it was to do this.
yeah.
Because I kind of thought, you know, trying to plan a bus tour, that's very cumbersome of time.
So you include the casino at Turtle Lake, and then you get a lot more people.
Well, I mean, I know they did a couple museums, but they also went to Leinenkugel. So, I mean, you know, add something like that, we can get more people to
So one of the things, something that Brenna said that made me think of this, or maybe Mike, even, he was talking about the Russ County Historical Society. Nancy Kraft from there had called me a couple weeks ago, and I thought that some of them were coming, because she brought it up at their board meeting and said it sounded like that there were a number coming. But anyway, we didn't end up with anyone.
I know Sister Cecilia used to come,
Well, that
but
was
she
my
passed
whole
away.
thing. That's what I'm trying to get to.
She was there.
Was
Yeah.
that on our mailing list, we had so many people on it that I think it got kind of pared
Yes.
down. Now Sister Cecilia passed away, and she was our contact for there, so they don't even know what we have going on. So we need to make sure we're putting everybody that puts their name down on here and their email, because if something happens to one person, then we still.
Create your lantern using the template,
Got it, okay.
okay? So, yeah, all the instructions are on there. And if there are any questions, just let me know. And if you get the chance, you want to come back and look at the stuff, you're more than welcome, but it's fine.
Is there a website for this 2 lights for tomorrow?
There is. There's stuff on
Is
the
that
internet,
here?
yeah.
I don't see the website.
Well, you just Google 2 lights for tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's, they have some resources on there already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, I have the Northern Wisconsin Heritage Council, I don't know if you have any updates on it from it?
Just that meeting is here, May 9th, 9 o'clock, 9 to 12, and then I'm gonna do a round table lunch where we can discuss different topics. And then if anybody wants to go on a tour, which you can do day 2, so I don't know, but it is open for tours after that. That's about all that I've heard that's new.
Still put the bus tours down, I don't know if we were still planning on talking about that, or if it was just, I know we did talk about it before, so I didn't know if there was anything
I
new.
don't know. If anybody wants to pursue that, we could, but otherwise we should.
Oh geez, that's my spelled it right. So the Wisconsin Historical Society and the Wisconsin Council for Local History, so Tammy you're officially.
I'm done.
Yeah. Tammy's done, she's never coming back. So when was that? October, November, sometime in there. Yeah, so I was elected the Northwestern representative for the Wisconsin Council for Local History. So that's kind of briefly, as we've talked about it before, it was separate from the Wisconsin Historical Society, but still connected. So the Wisconsin Council for Local History is the one that kind of determines the mini grants and like who receives them. And they're also, kind of a resource center and a connection center for, other affiliates and things like that. So as the Northwest representative, I guess I'm the new connection point for everybody up here to the Wisconsin Council. So if anybody just has things they'd like to bring up, concerns, things like that.
It's also organizing our district meetings.
Yes, so that was in January. Yeah, so we had a district meeting in January, which was over at LCO. I know Diana came. Did anybody else in here come? Yep, you guys were there. Pat was there. So yeah, I mean, I think it was a good meeting, especially for the fact that we barely had any time to plan it, so, and to like get the word out, so.
We had a great speaker, we had
Yes.
Saint Germain.
Yes, Rick was
Talked
awesome.
about- Someone in this group had suggested the topic of how to interpret Native history in our museums, so that's what his talk was about.
Yeah, and then we got a tour of the school that was like right, I can't remember,
Raspberry School?
something like that, yeah. Cinnamon School, Kinnaman School,
That's
whatever
what
it
it
was,
was.
yeah.
Yes.
Kinnaman School. So yeah, I mean, it's really fun. I don't think the next district meeting is, I think it's like every other year or something like that, so.
A minimum, you have to have a minimum of every 2 years.
Yeah, so potentially we will have another district meeting that I will organize within the next 2 years. So, put that on your calendars. The only other thing too, so it has been talked about for a long time, so I came in like right on the tail end of this. The Council for Local History had been chatting. Way back in the day, they used to be like part of like a committee within the Wisconsin Historical Society, and then they split off and they were their own 501c3 nonprofit. So they were doing that for a while. And then they started running into issues just in terms of, I think it was largely just funding and how they were trying to, you can't market if you don't really have a lot of incoming funds. You can't get the word out and share resources, but they were still slightly connected to the Wisconsin Historical Society. So they voted in March or February to basically dissolve their 501c3 status and rejoin the Wisconsin Historical Society as a committee. So they're basically back to what they used to be back in the 80s, maybe? 80s? Yeah, 60s, 60s, 70s. So from what we understand, the Wisconsin Council for Local History will still have a seat, they'll still have representation, we will still be connection points for all of the affiliates. But we will have kind of the financial backing, or more of the financial backing of the Wisconsin Historical Society. So
if you're wondering what that means to you guys, it's kind of, as a affiliate member of the Wisconsin Historical Society, you are automatically members of the Wisconsin Council for Local History. So it's your representative to the Historical Society.
So that's why they always try to say, at these district meetings, if people want to share things or just to kind of find more resources that you can use through, the Wisconsin Historical Society to use your contact points, which is me. Although I'm not quite sure how they're going to integrate it into the new website now that they're unveiling a new website and all of that.
Well, one thing is though, when they did that survey that. And now they're implementing a lot of those things, that was, that they were talking directly to the affiliate members and getting their input, and that was, Janet was talking about now that they have all these new resources that they're going to put on the website with lesson plans and different things.
Yeah.
And that was a result of what this group that Brenna's in.
So, stay tuned, I guess, for just any more updates. Largely, everything that I know is just that the next few months are just gonna be focused on dissolving a 501c3, which I don't know how to do, so that'll be on them. And then, yeah, just figuring out, upcoming, committee meetings and things like that within the Wisconsin Historical Society itself. So, that's all I got. Tammy knows more about the history of it, so if anybody has questions about like what has happened in the past, I literally have been to 2 meetings so far.
But it's all changing, so.
Yeah, so.
It doesn't matter.
List of experts for programming. I know Diana kind of requested this a while back, and I didn't bring my list either. But if anybody has a list, so I think in a lot of cases people are. I know this just from firsthand experience. I think a lot of the times people tend to be a little siloed, and kind of less inclined to share sometimes, just because you don't want it to take away from your museum, or from your connections that you have. But I think it's just important that if you do have a list of people who have spoken at your museum or people who do events or things like that, just consider sharing them with other folks, just because a lot of, especially the people who are doing the presentations and doing the events, I think a lot of the times they want to share that, and so if there's another opportunity to do that at a different location, I think that's always important.
Who is compiling the list?
It's basically just, so it would be basically you individually, if you have a list, to share it, and then I can send it out.
Do you want the list now?
Oh, you have it?
Yeah.
A little one.
Yeah, I can compile it and I can send it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to send me your list of, people.
Is it gonna be on our Facebook? How are we?
I would send it, I'm gonna send it out via email, mainly because I don't want to share people's information if they're not comfortable with it, right? So if you have people on your list and they would be happy to do an event at, they'd be happy to be contacted, by all means include them, but just clear it with whoever that person is on the list first, and so, they're not getting emails from like 15 other museums going, well, so-and-so shared your information, and I hear you're a good blacksmith, can you do an event, right? So that's the other thing, is just making sure your folks are okay with it, but yeah, if you have a list, I will happily kind of compile it and put it together, and it can kind of be, our own resource. Resource sharing. I know, for example, so we have a Native American man, Dan Jose, who has done, he does pretty much all of our like 4th grade presentations when we have tours at our school, and so Rochelle reached out to me and she said, hey, do you have Dan's contact information? And I said, well, let me check, and he said, yeah, and so he came up to Luck a couple months ago, or last month
He
even.
came up about a month ago and we had standing room only.
Yeah, so,
It was
and
crazy.
And that's not, and just because he speaks at my museum to a bunch of school kids, I'm really glad that he was able to actually do a separate presentation up at Luck. And I think he was too, so.
He actually was there for the installation of a new exhibit, which included his grandfather.
Yeah.
He was super, it was very well received.
So he's actually the St. Croix Ojibwe chief, so. So again, it's, make sure everybody's okay with it, and then if you have a list that you're willing to share, you can always send it to me, and I will compile a list and kind of send it out as a resource for folks to kind of use and contact for, events, for speakers, for things like that.
So you could also ask here, are there any people like, Dave, boy, I'm going bad, has probably given, 50 different flint knapping demonstrations in the area over the years?
Well, he's done at least 3 here.
He's done one with me.
Yeah, so if you're flint napper,
Dave is wonderful.
yeah.
He did one at the Luck Museum last year sometime. Very nice.
And so, yeah, you can also include yourself if you have an area of expertise. Not that you have to, Dave, but if you want to, that would also be helpful. So, that's all I had for old business. Hopefully we have enough time. So let's go around and we can share how museums are doing, this year so far. I know not everybody is open yet, but let's try and keep it to like 2 minutes or less, just to get around the room, because we got a couple last minute things. Yeah, we could start with Mr. River Road Ramble himself.
Yeah, we were open every Monday, we're around the year, so that helps us to have, and we're starting to get more people coming in. We have some regular volunteers, not nearly enough, of course. I'm going to just suggest something. Do you do something for Memorial Day, your History Society? What we've done for the past 20 years is pick a veteran in a local cemetery in our area and do research on them, do our newsletter that month on that veteran at the cemetery. We also at that cemetery do a cemetery walk because the Legion comes out, and when they come out, before that we have a cemetery walk. When they read off the list, like at Wolf Creek it'll be this year, when they read off the 130 veterans' names, when they get to the person we've picked, they read the name and then they read approximately a paragraph about that one person. And then we invite the family of that person there and anybody we can. And that way we insert ourselves into an event with a local history twist. And we've, as I said, we've done it 20 years now in a row. Last year we had it quite special because we found a veteran in our cemetery, a woman that hadn't been recognized as a veteran, been in the waves during World War II, and so that was quite nice. It was the first woman in our cemetery. We also have Native Americans in our cemetery, Civil War veterans from the South and the North, and it's an old, the cemetery I'm doing this year anyway. So that's just a suggestion, a way of getting yourself, inserting yourself into an event. So you don't have to run the event, you just become part of it, add a little to it. And it's quite nice because all the 150 people that come to this cemetery usually all will get a newsletter of ours with this person on it, with the membership information on the back and everything. That was 5 minutes, wasn't it?
No, I think you were pretty close.
We expect that from you, Russ.
Yeah.
Okay, us, all right, you hold up the book. I brought a few copies of our centennial book that we just published. So I'm starting a section in our museum about the different historical societies in our area. So if you have a book, I'm happy to swap one and put you on our shelf. And the other things we're starting to do is finalize our walking tour map. Excuse me. Identify some of the historic buildings and sites around town. We also have a student version and a child's version. So I will pass these around. You can all take it. It's kind of a work in progress. That's why it's not folded. And the other thing is we're just starting to get our brochures out too. So please help yourself, take one or two. They're for you. So just some basic information about the museum and the membership thing, of course, will go out. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Oh, we're starting 2 other books besides this one. We're expanding on, in the back of this, I put together a brief synopsis of about, 20 pioneers of the Amory and the surrounding area. And in another book, I have 5-generation genealogy on each of them. So what we're doing now is we're taking those and we're up to like 90 pioneers from the area that we're doing another book. So we're building a story about each of those pioneers and what they contributed to the area. So that's in the works.
Awesome. Tim and Ron from Clear Lake?
Well, this summer is Clear Lake's sesquicentennial, so we are working on a number of different exhibits. Ron has been doing a lot of research, like on all of the rural cheese factories and creameries in our, basically our school district area, among other things. And so we're hoping to put together some displays of some actual equipment working. We got one thing is a printing press that we just currently are starting to mess with, and our railroad wigwag is being refurbished. So we got a few good things in the works. Ron, anything, Ron?
Pioneer Village, or do you want to wait till we get to you? It's up to you. Do you guys want to share, or do you want to?
I'm yielding to Tammy.
Okay. She yielded to you.
eat food.
Okay, well then we can go.
Just a few things for us. We've got our family files up to date. I'm just trying to organize them really nice. Had Leah here and another volunteer spent hours and hours in it, getting that up to date. We have a tech crew that's been working all winter long. The village hall lets us use some space in there because our museum's not heated. They were to the point they've been digitizing our collection and encouraging people to bring in pictures and photographs and documents, and they work on that. And they needed some more equipment, so I just blanketed all our members, and they were, knew specifically the types of things they wanted, and they really stepped to the plate, and they got really good donations, and so we've got some up-to-date technology. We have a meeting coming up, our annual spring meeting on April 21st, and then we also have the Apollonia Church, which we had a hymn sing last fall, worked out really well. And also during Christmas, we always turn the lights on, because it's like a picture postcard to see the old Apollonia Church. So, worked out good.
Awesome.
We're going to change our hopefully change the day that we're open. We're just open one day during the summer one. And it's like, let's try to, when everything is open, that's the day to be open. Rather than on Wednesday when there's two things closed.
Yeah.
And we do have it in the works to get a web, or not a website, but an email address for the organization.
Got it.
We haven't had that, but the tech crew said we have one. We'll help get it set up on your computer and our financial person's computer.
Cool. Sounds good. Birchwood or St. Croix Falls? Either, who wants to go first?
St. Croix Falls Society, the curators are working on digitizing our archives, and we are doing more interviews of the elderly to have a history of the area. Our building is the land and title building, which was built in 1882, and we're hoping to open it at least for 2 days during the summer for people to come in and visit. And we're doing 4 newsletters a year.
Cool. Awesome.
We will have our first meeting of the year on April 29th, and then we'll open for the summer, the Monday, Memorial Day, May 24th. We will have a History Makers Tour display, Great Lakes and Small Streams, later July into August. Our computer crashed, and so we got a new one, and the backup of Past Perfect is not there, so I will be busy starting over.
So triple backups, this is a nice reminder for everybody to triple back up your stuff and keep one off-site.
I thought I had.
Yes, yeah. So go home and go check, that's the big reminder. Yeah, Frederick.
Go ahead. We opened the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, and just kind of going back to something that Mr. Armstrong talked about, I usually go to the village board meeting a couple times a year in Frederick just to give them a report of what's going on with the museum in town. Yeah, we're in kind of a unique situation because they own the main building, but the Historical Society owns the other things around it and the caboose and that kind of stuff. So I go and I give them a report every year about how many visitors we had, how many states they were from, who signed the guest book and that kind of stuff. And I also send both the village board members and the park board members in Frederick any of the information I send out to Historical Society members, press releases of events, I keep the local politicians involved in all that stuff, or at least let them know what's going on, so that's just kind of that just helps, so.
Awesome.
Earned media.
Turtle Lake?
Okay, well, Diane and I have been working on this book that I mentioned when Dave was here. And anyway, we've been working all winter on it, and you'd think that something that was already written would be easy to do, but it's not, because there were so many mistakes. One of the guys that was working on it with us, he transcribed, he took photographs of the articles and then transcribed them using some program that he had, and there were so many mistakes in that program. You know, it's taken us all winter to kind of fix those. And anyway, so that's getting close to being ready to publish, and you know, that's really big for us. We had started a separate book. We have so many more photographs that are just really cool photographs, and so we want to get a second book of our own that kind of expands on what was already done. So we're about 4 chapters into that, and we kind of got burnt out, so we'll see, how that goes. And another thing that we're doing is that we own this little chapel, and we need to move it because it's on a fieldstone foundation, which is collapsing, and so the outside walls are sinking, and there's kind of a hump in the floor. So far we've got a mover lined up, and I think we have it cleared, or we have a donor that's going to pay for moving the building, and that's going to be about $18,000. And then another thing that we have to do is we're in the midst of looking at bids for a foundation for underneath it, because we want to move it over by our museum, which is about 4 blocks away. So 18,000 to move 4 blocks. That's gas prices are high now. But anyway, that's probably going to be at least 20,000 for the foundation. So we'll be doing some fundraising, but before we can do that, is we actually have to get permission from both the DNR and the village, who kind of jointly own the property that used to belong to the railroad, to move that building. And so that's coming up, I think next week we have a meeting. And we're also meeting with the Tourism Commission to see if they will help fund the printing of the book, because that's going to be about $25 a copy. And unless, Russ.
No, you just go through Amazon, buy the copies as you need them. It only takes 2 weeks to get them. So, like, we're just publishing a church scrapbook, one 311 pages, full color, glossy paper, $30 a copy, but we're going to order 10 because we have orders for 10 of them.
Yeah.
So now it costs us $300 and we have the money ahead of time.
Sure.
And there's no upfront cost, just when you buy them.
Well, we have a potential donor to pay for the printing of the first 100 copies. But we really want to have the village have some skin in the game, because one of the things that we also need to do is, if you've been to our museum, it's in the old lumber yard, and it was painted with lead paint, which is peeling off, and we need to do something about that. But we had one of the members kind of independently go out and get a bid from someone that would do it, and then they went to the village board without permission from us, and it just it's made a difficult situation even worse because of their crumbling. Anyway, so one of the big things is it's hard enough to get help, but it's even harder to get good help. I don't know. So anyway, get team players. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we're kind of burned out. But anyway.
Go ahead. Plan your village. We are still fundraising for our new building. We're hopeful that within the next year we'll be, I was hoping maybe this fall even, but I don't know, fingers are really crossed on that one, but probably next year we'll start making ground on it. Gosh, I don't even know. Sarah's been working with the Cameron High School, they started a history club and it's gaining momentum. I think it's up to, I don't know, but 14 kids or something.
Cool.
And, now
They're
it's-
very enthusiastic,
yes.
especially the freshman boys.
They got lots of ideas.
So Tammy, is that your to-do list back there?
No, it wouldn't fit. And we started a folk school. We've been twice a month, first and third Tuesdays, we've been having some classes, but we've been limited to this space because it's our heated space for winter. So now that summer's coming, we can expand and we'll have more classes and publicize it more and really get that going. Lots of new exhibits are in the works. I'm really excited about, John's been working on a logging one. You would think that since logging was so key here, we do have an exhibit already on it, but it never got completed and it didn't cover all the things that we would have liked it to cover, so I'm excited about that. They're redoing our creamery one. Another important thing in this area was all the cheese factories and creameries. We've been working with the Glacial Legacy Heritage area, trying to get that. I know a lot of you have been dealing with that over in St. Croix County, and I don't know what all counties it covers, but what else?
Our new brochure is out.
Yep, and I'm gonna put a box of them out, and hopefully you guys will take some back to your museum to pass them out. What else am I forgetting?
You need a sawmill for your
We do need a
exhibit.
sawmill, I keep
I
telling
know,
them.
I talked to my nephew, he said, yeah, if you want it. It's an old 1900 or so earlier sawmill.
We really do need that. I agree. And then we're working on the Native American Village, that's hopefully going to happen this summer. We have been talking about that for years, and I'm thinking what we're getting closer and closer, and maybe this will be the year.
That's gonna be down.
It's gonna be in the woods, yeah. We're on 40 acres. Part of it's in the fence and part of it isn't, and then now we've got an additional 7 acres. We just negotiated with the county, Mark did that, and we re-upped our 99-year lease. So it's starting over again, because it was started in the 70s, I think. We've been here since the 60s, they did a lease in the 70s, and now they just, with this new building and adding that additional land, he asked them to redo the whole thing for another 99. So I think we'll be here for a while, hopefully.
School tours coming up.
Oh, and, yeah, school tours will be coming up. Governor's Fishing Opener is in Rice Lake on May 5th, or May 3rd, so on May 2nd, we're hoping the governor comes. We're doing a tour here, and they were all invited, so hopefully. And we added a day camp, so this summer we're having 6 day camps, I guess it is, 3-day day camps.
Well, Burnett County Historical Society, I don't know if you, that's the latest for us, and yeah, we open Memorial Weekend to Labor Day weekend, but the History Library is open all year round, 10 to 3. And we got sizable donations the last few months, and we are planning to add another building where we can do our digitization, but, which we're excited about, but probably need more money, more fundraising to do that. But we're excited, and Catherine is our person to head up that part. So, but QR codes, we are going to start trying to do that. We have somebody who's willing to do it for us, free. So we're thinking about having a QR code on each of the buildings.
The ones up above, not the stuff down below, but the
Yeah,
stuff
right,
up
yeah.
in the upper area, like the schoolhouse, the logging museum.
In the gardens.
In the gardens, yeah. But then the question has come up to use one of these handheld devices. But then it's a whole array of other problems with that. Where do you charge them? You know, how do you keep track of them? But with all your buildings, Tammy, have you ever talked about that?
Yeah, but you can do it with your phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but this is,
And
Yeah.
the Northern Wisconsin Heritage Council, that's what their plan is for, remember we've been talking about the Clio tours?
Yes.
And there's a thing on Clio, free QR codes, and then they could bring their phone and they could get that same information. And we're doing a Clio tour of the village. Izzy's been working on it for some time now, but it takes a long time to get all that information. And then- Yeah. But
Couple-
yeah, no,
couple
it's
of-
interesting.
Interesting, very good.
Yeah, a couple of consortiums ago,
CLIO.
I handed out a sheet on how to do free QR codes easily and make them, but you do need to link them to a website so that when they look at it, it goes, so you have to have the QR code pointed to a URL, but
Or
that's really free.
Clio tour, then you wouldn't have, you could do it on the Clio tour. You could,
Yeah.
that's what they suggested for us, was to do one of our buildings, and each building is a different site.
Yeah, you don't have to, I'm just saying, you don't have to have any cost in doing this. If you have, if you want to say, point at this QR code and you've got a web page that you can go to, that's what you'll see on the phone. It's all, you can do that all free.
Yeah. But somebody will do it, if we come up with the wording, we have somebody who will do it for
Yeah.
free for us. So-
Yeah, just don't let them charge you because it's all
No,
free.
no, this is a volunteer who will do
Yeah.
it for us. But that was a good suggestion, Clio.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention the Wayne's project.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
We had a kind of an interesting query, I guess we call it, of sorts. Wayne's and Webster is renovating their building,
Grocery store.
the grocery store, and they came to us and they wanted photos that they could develop and put up on their walls of the history of Burnett County. And so this young Mr. McCune came out and Kathy worked with him and we all kind of worked with finding photos that he could use, and those will be in the Waynes and Webster when they get it done.
Wings in Luck has done that. They came to us a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
PJ's,
Jane, now the general manager.
PJ's did that too in wherever they put a store, which is really.
But it's kind of nice advertising, so to speak,
Very nice
for our
advertising,
historical
Right.
society.
And the Native American Center.
Oh, yeah, and Siren too, yeah.
Requested photos from us, so.
Another venue to do that is the nursing homes. I approached the one in Luck about doing this some years ago, and they said, yeah, that'd be nice, but I never did it. But, I mean,
Is this Kathy with it?
Thanks to Brenna, we are going, the Luck Museum's gonna be working a little bit with you, for the children's school tours.
Trying, man.
Well, I know, and, Luck Schools hasn't been very responsive, and they haven't been responsive to us either. They used to have kids in the younger grades come to us, this is several years ago, and it stopped.
Yeah.
We also had an art, the Luck seniors, high school seniors art class had, the teacher had their seniors do, I don't know, an art exhibit at the Luck Museum. And it stopped just before COVID, or just when COVID started, and I've been trying to get it restarted.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna work with Brenna. Jonna actually owns Garden Expressions in New Richmond, my favorite store. But Brenna and I are gonna work together to see if we can get Luck Museum some exposure along with you guys, to get the students to also come to Luck. We've also, I mentioned earlier that with Chief Dan Rose, we opened a new exhibit for the Ojibwe in the area. And we are also working on getting 3 old maps. They were hand-drawn maps of Luck. We've got the maps blown up, and we're getting them labeled by hand, because otherwise the writing will be too fuzzy. And so I've got some volunteers working on that. And lots of other small little things going on. So in time, we are open all year round, so. And we have, our movies that we have monthly have seen an increase in attendance. We're now up to over a dozen people attending, which is really nice. And Russ's son Scott is the host of that one every month, so it's, and thank you, Russ, very much for teaching me the basics in creating a Google website.
Yeah, she took over doing the local website
It is
because,
very easy,
Yeah.
once you just learn the basics, they have all the templates there, and all you literally do is fill out the information. If you've ever done a Word document with their templates, with the Microsoft templates, it's literally the same thing. It's very easy. Even I can do it. Even I can do it.
Okay, we have like less than a minute, so I will close this out with museum updates. We'll move the lightning session to the next meeting. I'll do that whenever. Polk County Museum, I'm just finalizing a couple education boxes that can go out to area schools. Sarah, I'm probably gonna reach out to you for lesson plans on fur trading, just cause that's kind of one of my last minute ones that I have the fur, I don't have much of the lesson around it yet, so.
And I have the opposite. I have
Perfect. Yeah. So finalizing some of those from a grant that I got last year. Still working on an oral history project for Balsam Lake, just given that as the Polk County Museum, Balsam Lake doesn't have like its own museum. So getting an exhibit room ready for just Balsam Lake's history. So that's a new exhibit coming up. Another new exhibit is kind of a technology evolution. So I have a whole lot of old radios, record players, typewriters, phones, cameras, camcorders, things like that. So I decided to put those on display. P.S. Do you have an old computer that you would like to?
so would you like a working Apple IIe borrowed?
I would, if it doesn't, I'm looking for it to display it, so I am happy to have one that doesn't work that you don't want anymore.
Oh, well, this one here it's got games on it and it's
Ooh, well then I won't, I'll put it behind glass so I don't have kids breaking it. But, so yeah, I'm just looking for kind of last minute donations, especially for gaming equipment, like old gaming, you know, Ataris, like PlayStation Gen 1s, things like that, even like old Game Boys, because of course all this stuff is like, oh, I don't need this anymore, so I got rid of it years ago. So, last minute things on that are kind of finishing up. We are also having a History Makers exhibit coming, I think it's in June, with kind of centered around sports and football and things like that. So that's one of our upcoming things. We have monthly speaker events. If somebody wants to do a speaker event sometime this summer, I'm always looking for people, just because as I started getting folks, you know, it kind of started to run dry because you kind of ask the same people year after year, and then, you know, it starts to kind of, people say, well, I already did that, I don't want to do it again. So, hence the importance of sharing experts for programming. We're open year round. That's all I got. When's the next meeting and where?
If we follow what we've been following, but this throws it off because this is held later, a month
Yeah, it's
later.
usually June though, but
So
yeah.
if we do the second Tuesday in June, it's the 10th. I have a conflict, but it is June 10th, and it could be a museum that is unheated or has only outdoor space. So it could be anywhere this
Oh, I
time.
also have a conflict.
June, do you do too?
I do too.
Yeah.
What about the 17th?
I have a conflict every single Tuesday.
Come on, Tammy.
Day camps, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 10th is the only one that I have a conflict with, so if folks do want to have a meeting, Tammy and I just won't be there on June 10th, but
Could we do it on a Monday?
I don't see why not, if Mondays
The
are okay
9th?
for folks.
Monday, June 9th? Is that, or would you guys rather, we can keep it on Tuesday, but, yeah.
Do we have a location yet?
No.
But that's what I'm saying, it could be somewhere we haven't been, and they don't
Well,
have to
that's so
have
far
heat.
off in the corner.
Yeah, it was, people haven't been to Cushing.
No.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
no,
as
I
far
think,
as
I
some of
think
the
you,
others we've been to.
it's nice to have one sort of, so the Birchwood folks don't have to drive for extra hour.
But we,
So we haven't had one over in Birchwood, have we?
yeah, we have.
Oh, we have, okay.
Did we have
okay.
one in Bruce?
How about Bruce, have we, yeah, we had one there.
We have, I gave up the power of call for my dad, and his appointment's on the 9th, you're the 10th.
Oh, okay.
So,
What about Turtle Lake?
Did we have one at Turtle Lake?
Where have we not been?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't been to the Polk County Museum at least for a while.
Okay, that's reasonably central. Is there anything there to see? Is there anything there?
Well,
Three whole floors of stuff, Russ.
But then it couldn't be on the
But
10th.
she could do it though.
I could do it on the 9th, I just couldn't do it on the 10th.
Oh, I see.
And she can do it in the winter where someone.
Yeah, so I also
If
can
there's
do it in the
someone-
winter.
If there's someone that can't do a winter one that would like it, did we ever do Frederick?
Well, Clear Lake.
Yeah, what about?
Yeah, we didn't do
Oh,
Clear
yeah.
Lake either.
I think we'd be available, wouldn't we?
Yeah, Clear Lake sounds pretty interesting.
Are you guys available June 9th or June 10th?
I don't think either one matters.
Do you wanna do June 9th? I'd like to go.
I would too.
Gaylord Nelson, maybe this summer too, is that?
Well, we're,
Is
you know, I don't know if there's a specific anniversary, but again, it's the village's sesquicentennial, so we're kind of geared up on a lot of things. But
Yeah.
And the building's haunted.
not in my opinion, but
10 o'clock.
Yeah, yep, so can we do the 9th? Does the 9th work for folks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 o'clock, June 9th at Clear Lake. All right. I will take a motion to adjourn for this meeting.
So moved.
Tammy, second.
Second.
Who's that?
Pat.
Pat, okay.
I think we should,
All those in favor?
yeah,
Aye.
I think we should thank the Barron Group here for hosting this and having such nice lunch and everything. Yeah, we'll surely do it again here.
Okay, Miss Robin, where, there she is. I'm hoping that your computer hooks in, 'cause